what we are looking for is much more of compliance. If we have, if we can achieve enough compliance, then the issue of enforcement becomes not that difficult. But what we are putting in place is one, the enforcement agencies are now undergoing training on how best to handle this situation now that we have a new legislation that is now crafted in a way that makes it easier to enforce. Then two, apart from going through the training, the training entails getting to understand the provisions of the law. The second thing is that we as a government will be doing some other engagements with the stakeholders to let everybody understand the do's and don'ts much more the way it is now being crafted, and the subsequent implications of not observing it. And also we are also retooling and repositioning the way we do things so as to ensure that by doing little we could achieve much more in terms. Then another thing we're putting in place is the advocacy side. This law is now being posted on the website for people to read. A lot of people claim ignorance, which they say is not acceptable, but it's a reality that a lot of people don't even know what they need to do. But if you see the other provisions in this law, like the one that has to do with public transportation, we also put in regulations on how to get people engaged in carrying out these activities, and there are also other regulations as to how to do some other things that will make people to stay away from getting to a point of committing these offenses. We're installing more signages. You've noticed that in the last 3 or 4 years, you've seen that we are lane marking the roads properly so that people will maintain their lane and start even learning now as they drive in Lagos. Now you learn. We are now introducing pedestrian crossing, telling people this is where to cross, and making people who drive to understand at those points you need to slow down. So with conscious introduction of some of these innovations, you are indirectly getting to the psyche of people that this is a road, is an infrastructure, and this is the way it is to be used. If you have a road that is not lane marked, everybody will drive recklessly. But when a road is lane marked, you have what you call, sorry to use, a chevron, where you see they just demarcate the place. You know that places you don't go there. You see the broken lines. Oh, that is what I was told that I can overtake. When you see the straight, so it removes the element of reckless driving. We're not producing pedestrian bridges.
Mr. Kwefa, sorry to interrupt you, but that is another issue entirely. Most drivers on Lagos roads are not properly trained. They don't even know the meaning of broken line. They don't know the meaning of yellow line. So how are you going to cross all the hurdles?
Now, if you know the new driver license now, if you collect your new driver license in Lagos, there's no way you will collect it without going through the driving test, without going through the written test. Then beyond that, we also established 5 driver institute, 2007. So we've been working
towards
far ahead on getting everything. For everything you see in this law, it has taken us time to get to a point where we came out with the rewriting of the law. We now say that for everybody who is doing driving as a profession, in addition to your driver license, I'm talking of people now who are professional drivers. In addition to your driver license, you need to be certified to be a public driver, and you have to attend once in a year. We're also repositioning the vehicle inspection services, which is also included in this law as a new provision, so that we can now be sure of proper vehicle inspection and roadworthiness test is conducted. So there are so many things that we have been doing in the last 4 or 5 years that are conscious effort at ensuring that the road. Then we also introduced the school traffic safety advocacy program, where we took driving to primary and secondary school. So in the next 5 years, you'll be seeing a new generation of road users who have learned some of these things in the primary school, in the secondary schools, and these young ones are the ones telling us now. They don't want to go on the road that is not lane marked. They told us that at their last competition. They don't want a road that doesn't have a walkway. And you can see we are building roads now with walkways. So these are conscious efforts, like the Montessori learning. We are now doing things in the way that people are beginning to see that if I do this, is a reckless driving. If I do this, is a bad driving habit. So beyond that, our driving motor vehicle administration system too, we have made conscious effort over years to automate it. That even when you commit an offense now, from your plate number, we can, on the touch of a cell phone, know who owns the vehicle. In addition to that, the driver license scheme in Lagos is now well improved, that we will give driver license to only people who know how to drive. And we are working seriously on that with the Federal Road Safety Commission. Now, if you come through our driving license facility, I'm not talking of driver institute now, we'll give you a copy of the ICO, regardless of whether you've seen one before. We'll give you some books to read, then we'll give you a lot of literature as part of the things you even go on with. Then at the Driver Institute, we are now using interactive video. We are now making available video clips that you can play on your computer or on your TV set at your leisure time, just to ensure that people who go on our roads understand the act of driving. By the time you do all this, it now becomes easier to enforce. Now let me close by saying this.
Sorry. What about drivers, and I'm sure there are quite a number of them on the streets of Lagos, drivers who can neither read nor write?
The new driver license scheme requires that when you even come for your renewal, which is ongoing now, we do questioning before we get you your renewal. We question.
But what about the person that cannot read or write? Because you're talking of reading.
You lose your license.
Illiteracy is an excuse to not drive?
Yes. If you are not able to understand the highway code, you are not able to understand the
road signs. You can understand the road signs and be able to drive. Anywhere else in the world, you don't have to go to school to be able to.
No, we don't talk of school.
No, I beg to differ.
Yeah.
You would do
in many countries, you do written driving tests.
Don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying you don't have to. I'm saying that you don't have to be that literate. You can see what the road signs say. That's why they are in pictures.
Now,
you can understand
let me put it this way.
If you see a chevron, you know what it means because somebody has explained.
Let's clarify illiteracy.
Illiteracy, ability to read and write.
Not being able, I mean, if you are not able to read and write in English, it may not be literacy. Maybe you can read and write in another language. But there are certain basic prerequisites to obtaining a driver's license. There are certain things you must be able to do and you must be able to know. Even to operate a motor vehicles, there are dials that you should be able to understand. If you come to the Driver's Institute or in the process of trying to renew your license, we find that you do not have those basic skills, then the license will not be given to you.
Okay, you can train people to understand road signs. A zero with a cross in between is no entry. That one is simple. You don't need to be able to read and write English. Any other sign with a triangle, if somebody tells you this is what it means, you understand it. But if you then ask someone to do a written test,
no, when they say written test, that's a description. It doesn't mean they are writing. It's just to identify signs.
Okay.
What the text does is that.
So you have to not be as complex. I think what is important here is that this is a culture, the way we drive. You see, we see people doing things a certain way, and we tend to do those things the same way. So that's why it's so pervasive, the problems that we are talking about. Now, merely asking commercial drivers to do retraining on a yearly basis as a precondition for continuing to operate as commercial drivers will change the culture in that aspect. And I think if everyone else, if all the commercial drivers are driving properly, there will be a tendency even for others that will not have to now behave properly, because sometimes we behave badly because we feel frustrated that, okay, you are queuing there patiently and somebody is on the other side, so you want to follow. But if nobody is jumping to the other side, I think things will fall into place. And I want to mention that one of the sentencing options that a judge has where someone is found guilty of any of the offenses we are talking about, any of them, is to order that that person should attend the Drivers Institute for a refresher course. So it's part of the options available to the judge.
And at the institute, for those who might not be able to perfectly read and write into your car, we have what we call the e-testing, where we have an audio, you put in your mic, and the computer is in front of you, and something talks to you. What is that sign? Your punch. What is that sign? Your punch. We have brought that innovation.
Those are the things that a lot of people
but the way it's described is called written test.
Yes.
But we have developed ways to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to have himself tested to the level of the minimum requirements to drive.
That's where the issue of literacy.
And that's why we say all commercial and public or professional drivers go through the institute for 1 year. If you may allow me to call, they become charter drivers after coming out.
Oh, wow.
Just like a chartered accountant.
That's right. Yes. Okay, we have some questions coming in through Twitters, and there is one from Olawande Oluwatomi saying, please help me ask Commissioner if they have clearly put all the road signs, e.g. one way and so on the road, so that people don't mistake that this is a no entry and all that. I'm assuming that that's what that question is about.